Confession, I am a personality addict. I love all the assessments, the DISC, the StrengthsFinder, Strong, Kersey, Myers-Briggs, Enneagram, and it's actually been kind of a game changer for my life. So I thought I'd talk about that in today's day 4 challenge of the live video challenge. So, hi, if we haven't met before, my name is Courtney Louie. I'm really excited you're able to pop on in and join me. Feel free, if you're watching the replay, just hashtag respond replay. That'd be super awesome. And I just want to pop on today because today's challenge is about telling your story. And so I thought we'd talk about a few things. First of all, I want to give a little tangent about the idea of a story. All good things, I promise. Share a bit about why the personality world has blown my mind and gets me so pumped up. You might be able to relate. And then lastly, just, get you thinking about what are the things that actually light you up. So the first thing that I really wanted to share was I was thinking about how much I was overthinking this. It's kind of embarrassing how much time I've spent today staring at the computer screen, thinking about what would I talk about when it comes to sharing my story. And if you're kind of a perfectionist, type A, or an overachiever, more so, you want to get it done and you want to do it right? You want to do it really well. It can be really easy to overcomplicate things and make it far more convoluted than it needs to be. Especially because if you're a Christian and you're in the faith community, we talk a lot about sharing our testimony, which is awesome, and you should definitely do it. But I think if you're like me, you might be a little confused about what the heck that meant. Because sometimes it seems like you're sharing your testimony needs to be this big, extravagant story about who you were before Christ and, how you went through this crazy circumstance and how you're a totally different person now, which is awesome. And if that is your story, keep doing it. Keep sharing that story. It totally matters. But your testimony can also be very simple too. It can be an experience you had last week. It could also be something, that happened when you were a kid. It doesn't have to be something very complicated. And you can have actually like textbook stacks worth, so to speak, of testimonies, thinking about all the different kinds of experiences you've had, your stories that have been impactful, that have shaped you, who you are today. And it may not be crazy complicated. In fact, the reason this came to mind for me was because last week during my Connect group, we were doing a lesson by Kyle Idleman, and he was talking about the idea of, again, as a Christian, you're called to share your testimony. And if we think about it in terms of a court of law, you're basically a witness, or as Scripture often calls us, we're ambassadors. But your job is just to share your story. It's to share the facts about what you've experienced, what you saw. And I'm tacking on a little bit more there. If you're doing it for, let's say you're in a court of law, you're not the judge, you're not the jury, you're not the lawyer, you can take that pressure off, but you're up there in the witness stand and you're just talking about one case. It doesn't mean you won't ever be called up again to share your story about another instance. So, just simplifying. It doesn't have to be that complicated. Sharing your story can be just sharing something that recently happened to you or simple memories. So anyway, hopefully that helps you take a big deep breath and relax. Because I know it's like, even if you're not planning on sharing your story right now. So, taking a big deep breath, I thought I'd share a tiny bit about my own story. Because I was thinking about, what do I want to say? Because I also don't want to paint myself as, the coolest person ever. Because I'm not. And that's okay. That's very healthy. But I was thinking about how I'm a personality addict, and I thought you might be able to relate because like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there's so many different kinds of personality assessments out there, and you can learn a lot about yourself from them, or you may decide they're not really that great. I have a relative who's like, it never worked. So that's also, pretty reasonable. But if you're anything like me, I've been an avid personality test taker since I think I was 12, taking those E-mode quizzes to find out what flavor I was. I'm peppermint. What kind of dog? Bernese Mountain Dog. I've never met one, so I really can't say. Your aura, it's gold, all those kinds of things. It was really fun. But I also remember fast forwarding a bit in high school, in our career development course, we were given a personality assessment. It was like a one pager. It was a very simplified version of the Myers-Briggs Typology Indicator, MBTI assessment. And then once we calculated and responses and everything, we would get this like one sheet that had all the 16 personalities. It's obviously not this. It was this tiny little square describing within like 1 to 2 sentences what your personality was. And I remember reading and being like, that's not me. And then I was like, this is garbage. Obviously, the most healthy response. So anyway, cruising along, go along with life, and like, doesn't matter. But then years later, when I was in graduate school, I took it again, and surprise, surprise, my personality type results were not the same. They were different by one letter, but that one letter was huge. That really, it's a piece of the puzzle of who you are. So originally I'd taken it, and I was an ESFJ. And then when I took it again, I was an ENFJ. And then I read one of the books from one of my grad school classes that was a bonus reading. We actually never studied it in the entire course. Ironically, this was a game changer for me because this writer, David Kiersey, did even further research about the Myers-Briggs typology system, but he did it more so he paired them up. So anyway, I discovered about idealists who are intuitive feelers, that's me, rationals, intuitive thinkers, guardians, sensing judgers, and then artisans, sensing perceivers. All wonderful personality types. They all have so much to offer. And it was just mind-blowing. When I read it, I saw myself in a way I hadn't seen myself before. And it finally gave words to the kinds of things I get excited about. I love personal development. I love teaching. I love learning. And I know it's still personal development, but I love the feely, gushy stuff. I love so much of that. And a lot of the concrete, hands-on things I had to do during high school and junior high, like 4-H and FFA, unless it was public speaking, was so not my thing. And if you lead with intuition, you can still love FFA and 4-H. It just was not my jam. And there were just so many things, like over the years, I realized it actually helped me understand how I was drawn to opportunities that are more like idea-based than necessarily tactile, like selling products, selling materials. And so it was also really helpful over the years when I would meet random people, because obviously, and they'd be like, hey, you should do sales. You want to help join this like pyramid scheme? And pyramid schemes, they have their place. I didn't want to sell products. And there's nothing with wanting to sell makeup or whatnot. It's awesome. Go for it. I'd buy makeup from you. But that was something I realized that's just not something I'm really excited about. And it was really helpful to kind of have a better grasp of how personally I get excited about personal development. And if I can help someone grow and become more of who they are, which is often a big quest of idealists, intuitive feelers, if they really want to find their true self and so they can know themselves fully, which is a lifelong journey, spoiler. It was really helpful for me. So anyway, that just really helped me shape out my career path and decide to work with university students and getting to lead programs and coach students and create new programs. Because that was also another piece of the personality puzzle, was discovering that I have a passion for creating new things from nothing. And that's really awesome. And I know not everyone's drawn to that. Anyway, a lot of rambling about me, but learning about the personality ideas, and then also finding one where that was kind of my home, was really empowering. It really helped me figure out my career path. It also helped me notice trends, things I was more drawn to, give myself grace about things I don't want to do, or don't necessarily have to do, like scrapbooking. So again, you could totally do that and be intuitive and rock on. And there's nothing wrong with you if you enjoy those kinds of activities. It just was helpful for me to learn that's not what I'm drawn to. So I've been talking a lot about myself. It's back to you. So if you haven't yet, I definitely encourage you to take a personality assessment and let me know in the comments if you'd need help finding one. I will hook you up, because you cannot fail a personality assessment. They're called a personality test, personality quiz, whatever you want to call them. There's no right or wrong personality. And that is one of the most exciting things, is realizing that Your personality is a gift. And especially coming at it from a Jesus perspective, your personality is a God given gift for you to use to glorify Him, show His light, show a facet of Him that no one else could see, and it's a fantastic gift for you to use and to enjoy. So you can stop beating yourself up for not enjoying all the things because maybe you're actually not wired to enjoy that as much. It may not be something you're naturally drawn to. So anyway, think about what lights you up. Again, feel free to comment if you got questions about how to find some of those personality assessments. I think they're the bomb, but that's just me. And I'll be back tomorrow with another fun challenge video. So hopefully it won't just be me talking about me. And as always, you can live intentionally with passion and purpose as God's beloved. See you next time. Bye.